Well, we're going to unpack this further with Thomas Remington, a visiting professor of government at Harvard University, and he's joining us from Cambridge, Massachusetts. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Professor.
You're welcome.
Firstly, your thoughts on President Trump's comments in the last hour or so. He seemed to be quite scathing towards Ukraine, saying he could have ended this war, asking where's all the money gone to. Do you think any of those comments are warranted?
No, I don't. I think, as we know, Trump's personality is such that he does indulge in hyperbole and exaggeration. He also tends to exaggerate the degree to which he can solve problems by waving a magic wand. I think the Trump administration in this instance does not speak with one voice. Trump would like a rapid conclusion to the peace talks. He'd like to bring back a successful outcome to his constituents, but others in his administration and around it would like a peace deal to be durable. And there's a real trade-off between speed and durability here.
When you talk about a successful outcome, what does that look like? Because what we've seen so far is that Ukraine would seem to have to make more concessions than Russia at this point. But for Trump, it's a successful outcome, and for his constituents, just an end to this war completely and the end of American financial support to Ukraine.
Yes, Trump would clearly like to be able to end American financial support. He would also like to ensure that there isn't any continued fighting on the part of Russia or Ukraine. The details are everything here. And whether Trump is willing simply to sign a deal with President Putin that commits both sides to some kind of ceasefire, unless there's some kind of guarantee that the ceasefire will last, the war will resume very shortly afterward. So I think Trump is aware, and certainly those in the Senate and those in the administration who understand about the situation know that a deal, if it is going to be real and solid, will require security guarantees.
And a deal will also require all parties coming to the table to actually discuss this. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been speaking to his European counterparts following today's meeting in Riyadh. He says that the EU will be part of the talks, but surely that has to happen in order for peace talks to actually move ahead and for any concrete outcomes.
I imagine there will be multiple sets of negotiations. It's potentially very valuable that President Putin sent his people and Trump sent his people as an initial contact. We have to hope that in their 4 hours of conversations, the American side did not concede too much in the way of a future settlement. President Putin would also undoubtedly like a settlement, but he doesn't want Ukraine to be part of NATO, and I think he'd like to leave his options open for continued influence over Ukraine. I think Putin is much more long-term and strategic in his thinking than is President Trump. So ultimately, it will require European participation. At the end of the day, without Ukraine accepting an agreement, the agreement won't be worth anything.
Do you think Europe is at a point now where it also does need to step up? A lot of criticism towards EU and the leaders, especially the bigger countries like Germany and France, is that they should have increased defense spending. They should be less reliant on the United States, especially knowing that Donald Trump was going to come into power and probably take such action that we've seen. There's been talk from the British about a European peacekeeping force, possibly putting boots on the ground in Ukraine, but not in the conflict zone. This is something that Russia says is a complete red line, and after all, those will essentially be NATO troops.
Whatever force there is as a peacekeeping force clearly will not fly a NATO flag, but the European leaders are clearly bickering now over the timing of any such commitment. I do think in the end, we will see a force composed of soldiers from several European states. And I think they will have to police the ceasefire line inevitably. And what the size of that force might look like, there have been numbers as low as 14 or 15,000 and numbers that are much higher. It will require a substantial commitment on the part of European leaders. And they are gradually moving towards such a commitment, but they've been unwilling to step up to that line yet.
Professor Thomas Remington, really great to get your analysis and your thoughts. Appreciate your time.